The basic idea of these sessions is to bring common sense back into our narration because there is so much of negativity, there's so much of duality, like, dislike, good, bad, right, wrong. Dharma is not that at all. Dharma is actually sattvic. Other than sattva, there is nothing. The minute you have more than that, you begin to get into a state of hate, and that is not required. We need to be able to practice dharma and appreciate the beauty of Sanatana Dharma. Namaste, everybody. Today we will research in chapter 4, verse 8. So, here in verse 8, Sri Krishna says, for the protection of the virtuous, paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha duskritam, and for the destruction of the dushkrita. Dushkrita is not necessarily wicked. Dush means against. Krita means action. That is negative action. That is action against dharma. That is against the natural state of all entities. So, against the natural state of all entities, we don't have a real word that explains this particular kind of a state of existence. Dushkritam. And for the establishment of natural balance, dharma sanstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I take birth every era. Now, I wanted to just highlight a couple of things. Who is a sadhu? A sadhu is someone who does not get into trouble unnecessarily. He does not go and poke somebody else. But when poked, he is able to defend everything in a very righteous manner. Now, Duskrita means those that go counter to Dharma. So, to re-establish Dharma, I take birth every year, every era. Sri Krishna is considered to have taken multiple births, many births, but out of these, only a few have been given prominence. So it is not necessary that Sri Krishna took birth only in Bharat, it could have been elsewhere as well. It is also possible that in Bharat he took multiple births which are not recorded. So we have to be very careful when we only talk about the Dashavatara of Sri Krishna, of Maha-Vishnu. Here I'm going to give a totally different spin to the Dashavatara. Here I'm only taking 8 avataras because I think the other two are not exactly the avataras that need to be that pass muster. That is Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana, Parashurama, Rama, and Krishna. Balarama is often included in this list, but Balarama is Seshnaga, so I don't think that qualifies as an avatara. Buddha is also often used, and I don't think Buddha is a avatara of Sri Krishna because, according to Buddhist tradition, the Buddha is a reincarnation of another Buddha. Let's start with each avatara, quickly run through and look at how he balanced um, dharma. So, dharma samstapanaya taya sambhavami yuge yuge. So here first we have to take the question of who is the Dushkrita. So first is Matsyavatara. In Matsyavatara, there are multiple versions of Matsyavatara. One of them is the story of Hayagriva. Hayagriva came out of Lakshmi. Lakshmi then he actually went and sought the hand of Saraswati, but Saraswati turned herself into a ugly woman and said, you won't get any happiness out of marrying me. So he went back to Lakshmi, but Lakshmi ran away. And then in the end, Hayagriva stole the Vedas. And then the fight happens, and then the he is defeated by Hayagriva himself. Maha-Vishnu as Hayagriva. So here it is for the preservation of the Vedas. In the story, also you have Manu, who is in meditation, and Maha-Vishnu comes as a small fish. And then he says, build your boat. He takes the seven, that is, Saptarishis in the boat, and they into safety. Question is, what is being preserved? And I'm hypothesizing that the preservation is of the Vedas. The second is Kurma Avatara. In Kurma Avatara, Mount Mandara, that he, with Vasuki, he's tied as a rope, and then they churn it, and then they get the portion of immortality. Here the question is, why is this being done? The Asuras had a guru called Shukracharya, who had a mantra which would revive the dead. The Devas did not have anything. And so, my hypothesis is that to bring balance between the Devas and the Asuras, this particular activity was done. Then the third is Varaha, which is the protection of the earth. He goes as a boar and picks up the earth after fighting with Hiranyaksha. Here, I'm not too sure what the Dharma is. And maybe when we have a discussion at the end of towards the little second half of the class, you will be able to, some of you may be able to tell me what you think the Varaha Avatara is, what is the adharma in this, and what was the Dharma Samstapana that Mahavishnu was trying to achieve. In Narasimha, again, it's very straightforward. The Paritranaya Sadhunam, here it is actually the, okay, Prahlada came as a sadhu, but the Duskrita was Hiranyakashipu, who was, who had become too powerful. So here my posit is that the balance of sattva had to be brought in because rajas was very high. And so, if so, Prahlada is brought in as a foil, and Narasimha comes to destroy Hiranyakashipu, and that is the adharma and the dharma. So, this is pretty straightforward in Narasimha Avatara. In Vamana Avatara, in my view, it is about reversal of ahankara, the feeling of doership. When Bali Chakravarti is conducting his yajna, with Vamana coming and encompassing the three worlds, you have the situation of ultimately Bali bowing down to him, to Mahavishnu, and bringing his ahankara under control, the sense of self, the doership. In Parashurama, again, I think the um Dushkrita were people who had excessive power. Now, there is this old saying, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. In my view, in this particular case, the Kshatriyas had forgotten that they were there to protect Dharma and instead had become absolutely drunk on power. They had become Asuras. So, the sadhus here were the lay people. And in order to protect the sadhus, Parashurama came and destroyed the people in power so that there was a certain element of normality established. Because we must remember that the three gunas are constantly fighting with each other for supremacy. And sattva is the shortest time frame that the gunas exist. Like I have given you if you take the ball example, when you push, the ball has inertia, that is tamas. When you push and give it energy, it rolls, and at some point, it has no force acting on it. It goes from positive to negative, but in the interim, there is a brief period when it is at zero. That is sattva. when there is no rajas and no sattva. That's pure sattva, and that is for a very short time. So, in order to increase sattva, to increase sattva is almost impossible. But what we can do is to try and reduce the impact of tamas and rajas on civilization. And that, in my view, is what Parashurama Avatara is. Rama Avatara is again preservation of life. Now, we must recognize one thing. Throughout his life, Ravana has not really been Duskrita. He has been he has been very powerful, and he has controlled the various um, elements. So he was at a stage where there was no destruction for him. And in this case of having no destruction, it meant that there was the three gunas, the balance was being lost. So in this case, in my view, the issue at hand was, I mean, Rama Avatara was actually just a reason to get Ravana out of circulation because he had just to amassed too much power. And so the entire business of Rama is to go there, make sure that Ravana is destroyed. In Krishna Avatara, again, is preservation of life. Here, what happens in my view is that we have not understood Krishna Avatara completely because it is possible that this entire Avatara took place when Bharat itself was changing, when the natural trees and the natural rivers, the river flows, and the geography of Bharat was changing. And that time, with migrations happening, there was a massive need for new lands. People were being subjugated because of the migration, and there was a lot of small wars. And because of this, in my view, Sri Krishna Avatara was there to bring back balance. And this balance came about because of the drying of the Saraswati. This is my view. But we can have a discussion on this a little later. Now, another thing about dharma that we need to look at is from Manusmriti in verse 8.15. And there it says that dharma, when violated, destroys. When it is preserved, it protects. Therefore, dharma must not be violated, for dharma protects itself. That is the very famous, shloka, dharma eva hato hanti, dharmo rakshati rakshita. तस्मात् धर्मो न हंतव्यो मानो धर्मो हतोहो वत्मीत. So the question here is, so we have a conflict here when we look at it critically between the role of Sri Krishna bringing back dharma and here dharma protecting itself. So if dharma protects itself, what is the role of Maha-Vishnu interfering in the whole business to bring back dharma? So we have two situations here. Okay, so let's look at this particular verse. This means that dharma protects itself. A classic example is climate change. When we begin to abuse climate, when we begin to let us take the five elements: earth, water, fire, um, air, and space. Let's take earth. In earth, we pollute the soil by putting pesticides and things like that. We overgraze, we do not have a one third coverage of land by forest. When we do all this, when we denude the land, when the earth is desertified, obviously there is a problem in terms of balance. Similarly, when we pollute the water, the groundwater is polluted. When we have when pollution extends beyond a particular level, when the seas are over we took remove more from the sea than we give in. When, in terms of fire, the amount of oil and other things that we remove from the sea, from under the ground, this we burn, and in the end, that leads to a lot of thermodynamic changes which occur in our system, that is increasing the heat on the earth. Similarly, air pollution, we know, and space is the whole thing in unison. When this happens, there is climate change. Climate change is not just about one particular element of the five primordial elements. Similarly, let's take the mad cow disease. When a cow is fed bone meal, automatically the cow is going to fall sick. Those that eat the cow will fall sick, and so you have mad cow disease. Similarly, when you eat fish, which is taken out of polluted seas, you're going to fall sick. So, when you play with nature, in fact, we don't even know how many of the grains we eat are taken out of polluted seas. Like, for instance, they spray a lot of pesticides on fruit trees. Those are eaten by us. So when you play with nature, that is dharma, the natural state of our ecosystem. When you play with that, it rectifies itself by hitting back. So you have an imbalance that is created, and the gyroscope of dharma tries to bring it back into what its natural state should be. So the question is, what is Sri Krishna's role in influencing this particular decision? So it is somewhat like a surgeon. You can give medicines up to a point. That seems to be the role that Dharma plays in order to correct itself. It is basically a kind of a corrective mechanism that it has. But at some point, this particular rectification is not enough. So at that stage, an external intervention is required. That is when Sri Krishna comes and has a role to play, and he comes in and he tries to remove the dushkrita and then re-establish and protect the paritranaya sadhunam. That is, he tries to protect the sadhus. Any questions?
When you talked about these Dashavataras, it's not that there are only 10. Actually, there are many, many, it seems.
Yes.
Avatara means only coming down. It only means coming down to the descent. So
Yes.
this Dashavatara is only a number, and as you have seen, there are many lists of Dashavataras.
Yes.
In some Buddha is there, in some, in fact, in some even Krishna is not there.
What?
Yeah, yes, in some lists, in the Dashavatara list, Krishna is not there because they say Vishnu is everywhere. Krishna is Vishnu. All the 10 are with Krishna only. So without Krishna also there are lists.
I completely agree, sir, because there is a lot of this entire business of Dashavatara has been invented in the south. It was not there before. It is possible that it came after the Vaishnavas became more and more
Yes,
prominent.
this Avatara is a Vaishnavite concept. Shiva does not seem to have any avatars.
No, Shiva does not have any
Shiva has
avatar.
no avatara. So we only talk about Vishnu having this avatar. It's only
Yes,
Vaishnavite concept.
yes, sir.
And these lists are made by different points of time. Different people
Yes,
have made lists like top 10.
yeah, I
8 or 9
completely
are
agree.
Buddha. Many people don't think Buddha is an avatar at all.
The interesting thing, sir, is that, like, for instance, Dalai Lama is the 13th, I think 13th or 14th, I forget, or reincarnation of the Lama that he used to be. So, actually, if you see, if you look at your own horoscope, there is one that tells what you were in your previous birth, what you
Yes.
are bringing as prarabdha.
One is about the thing you said about avatars being a concept which is post to the Vaishnavism, which is
We
based.
don't know. We don't know. We don't know. We think.
Okay. Okay. But there is a question here. When we chart the avatars, we see historical and physical evidence of their having been there. whether it is Sri Rama or Parshurama or Sri Krishna, everything. And
Yes.
we also have the year calculation, that one was in Dwapara, one was in Treta Yugam, and like that.
Correct.
So we cannot completely say that it is only Vaishnavi people's concoction, kind of, I feel,
No, no, no.
because. Hmm,
I'm not disputing for a fact the existence of these
ah,
great people.
hmm,
The only question is, are they avatars of Lord Vishnu? That's all.
okay.
We are not arguing about the existence of such entities. They
Hmm,
existed. There is no doubt about it.
hmm.
But are they avatars of Sri Maha-Vishnu? That is the only question.
Sir, Lord Krishna does not tell anywhere that I am the Avatara of Mahavishnu. Or what about the Bhagavatam? In that, they will not be telling that because of Jaya Vijay and all that, he came down thrice to give the. That is all. Maybe we'll say it is Puranam, and therefore there is no pramanam of that as much, right?
Yes,
That
that
what?
is the problem. So that is where a lot of what we do, a lot of what we say, a lot of what we believe is really unsubstantiated. But the important thing here is each of these things has a lesson.
Yes.
What we need to learn from these avatars is certain lessons. And these lessons are of enormous value to us because paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya
The
dushkritam.
Dushkritam.
Huh. So the thing is that to understand who is a sadhu, what is a dushkrita,
Hmm.
is something that we need to reflect. No,
Yes.
if we don't reflect on or do swadhyayam on what is dushkrita,
Hmm.
so for that we need to understand what is dharma.
Yes.
If we don't do these reflections, see, there are two things that will happen. First is you will do intellectual understanding of what is dharma, what is duskrita. Then what happens? You go into your house, you go into your family, and then you start talking to your family, and at that time you begin to have your ideas challenged.
Hmm.
At that time the distillation process starts. This is what I am. This is what my natural state is. This is what dharma is. When that happens, you get a visceral understanding of what dharma is. Now, that's something nobody can take away from you. You understand that experience of dharma is something nobody can take away from you.
Sir, but if it is a visceral thing, then it is going to be, or rather, it can be different for different people,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So then everybody will interpret dharma according to their convenience.
Absolutely. That is why we have sampradaya.
No, no, sampradaya is on still a bigger scale. I'm talking even on an individual level.
What I'm trying to say is that when you get a marriage done, somebody will say this person cannot do this person can't do this. That is at an individual level, no?
Yeah.
Anything. Suppose you are doing, say, a homa or a puja,
Hmm.
somebody will say you have to put this first, this next.
But
You
that
have
is
to.
according to our those books, no, those Grahya Sutram and all that.
No, 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 no.
Hmm.
I'm saying that when you do a puja,
Hmm.
not everybody knows all the rules of puja.
True.
You will only do the puja in the way that your mother taught you.
Yeah. Or
But
a
the way
guru.
your in-laws will do it might be different. So there will be a individual difference in the way you all do your puja.
Yes.
That is neither is right or neither is wrong, but the point is that it is individual. That is something that is coming from visceral. That is your mother has taught you, that is right for you.
Okay.
There is, you will not, you would hate to have somebody say that that's wrong, because it means that they are telling that your mother does not know what she is doing. A lot of the family fights happen because of that, correct?
Yeah, but I feel still that there must have been a right or a wrong, because if it is left to literally individuals and individual families, then absolutely we cannot draw a pattern at all. There cannot be any homogeneity or even of the remotest degree.
The homogeneity comes from the elasticity because we know that these practices and rituals are all essentially meant to give you a discipline or a tapas.
Hmm.
The need for tapas is the reason why you do rituals.
Hmm.
From tapas comes understanding. That is the only reason why we do all this. Why do we need a marriage at all? Think about it. Why do we need to have one person marrying another person only? These are all rules which have been created for the maintenance of harmony in society.
Yes.
So, the entire business of rules that we have today is meant to maintain harmony. You will go only on the left hand side of the road. It's a rule that is meant to maintain harmony when you are on the road. So, if we were to start, but at the same time, you have to respect the other person's way of doing things. So, that kind of elasticity is inbuilt in Sanatana Dharma, which is why it is naturally secular.
Sir,
Because it says,
when you say we have to respect, exactly what are we meaning? Because this word, respect people is nowadays too much bandied about, and I've lost the meaning of that word. I respect your viewpoint. I respect your this. What exactly are they doing when they say we are respecting them when they are not agreeing with them? See?
that's okay, you can agree to disagree. No?
Yeah,
Why do
but
you
then
need to
everybody
actually.
agrees to disagree. What happens to this society? Everybody says,
One
"No, I
minute,
am
one minute.
right. I agree to disagree. I will not engage with you in any debate, anything. Let us agree to disagree, just disconnect." And each one thinks what they want to think. Then where will the society head as a whole?
Let's talk the primary core, which is the family, then the secondary, which is the extended family, and the tertiary, with where you have friends and family, and then of course you have society. Society has some rules. Without those rules, you will not be able to run society. Now, when we come to the secondary section, where families meet occasionally and then there is an exchange of ideas, sometimes those ideas, so most of the time when it is just experimental discussion, it's just discussion. Those discussions have no value because at the end of the day, nobody is actually invested in it.
Yes.
Let's be honest. In family relationships, it becomes more complex, where practices are questioned with each other.
Yes.
Now, when practices are questioned, few things happen. One is you are looking at whether that practice impacts me or not. Like, for instance, if you say that I'm going to do my dhyana in a particular way and they foo it, they are not invested in your dhyana, no? See, what we very often do not recognize is that 99.99% of the time, the other person is not impacting you, even though it is a primary relationship. The house is run by the female. There is no doubt about it. She holds dharma, the harmony of the house. And the way she runs the house determines the harmony of the entire lot of people in the house. Now, the question really here is the rest of the people, what is their contribution? It depends on the lady of the house. Now, when the lady of the house has problems in terms of being able to get that done, then you have dissonance or disharmony. Now, that disharmony sometimes can be bridged, sometimes cannot be bridged. So, here we have to be very careful that every place is not going to be disharmonious, every place is not going to be harmonious. Some things you have to let go, some things will happen. That which you cannot control, you have to learn how to manage. That is why we have management. Because most of the time, we are not in control. As we progress in chapter 4, we will talk about what we call free will.
This Varaha Avatara, basically, there were so many infights between Devas, Asuras. Apparently, when it comes to tolerance, Mother Earth is compared to tolerance, and she accepts everything patiently. But there is a limit for patience. She was overweight with lot of tension, so she could not bear, and she sunk into the ocean. So there had to be somebody to uplift the one
Correct.
who is tolerant. That is one thing. And here, Rama Avatara is,
No, can I ask you a question?
yes,
What is the role of Hiranyaksha in this?
Hiranyaksha. He spread lot of negativity. So basically, he added a
We
lot
don't
of.
know anything about Hiranyaksha. There is no data
There
available
is
on
no need
Hiranyaksha.
to know about those fellows who are spreading negativity. End of the day, just equate them negative. Finished. What in what end of the day, as
No,
in
no.
algebra, when we see when there is a negative sign, however it is negative. So I think we should see what we can learn rather than wasting time. How negative is this guy? Negative. I think end of the day, we will not bother so much. We'll say
No, no.
okay.
See, the problem is again that verse, no. Vinashaya cha duskrita. What is the duskrita in Hiranyaksha?
uh,
He must know, no?
Yes, but I think it was more of this ahankara and lot of and this they want to have they wanted to be power center, irrationally, power centric people. That probably that was the reason. Now
Okay.
I will start from Matsyavatara. See, actually, as you said, sir, the purpose of human life is to go into meditation and achieve uh, that state of life where we are beyond these gunas, and we are
Moksha.
calm. Yeah,
Moksha. Mm.
moksha. So the dashavatara is the step for that. It tells you origin of life, and it tells how the life should end. Matsya avatara is the state where we begin with water. So here also origin of life begins with water in the mother's womb. Okay, so at that point in time, that a fetus in the womb is in the water, and it has nothing. And there, when we go to the second Kurma Avatara, which is that boar or pig, so that fetus is just living in Malamutra, in the worst case, in the worst situation, just like a pig. Now, Varaha is
No,
a
Varaha is the pig. This is
Varaha is
turtle.
a pig. Okay,
Kurma is a turtle.
a turtle. So when you see the fetus, actually, when you see the fetus in the scan report and all, it looks just like turtle. So it has the structure of that. And Varaha, as you said, is that in the form of, it lives in a very nasty condition. And when the child is born, it is more of an animal. It is uncivilized, it fights and has all an animal quality. Then the child is sent to Gurukula or for education, where he learns values of life. Then he also becomes, once he goes to, he understands the importance of power, balance of power. Then comes the state of value, because man without value is very is not even called a man. And Krishna Avatara is a whole new level. It's a level where when we you can divide Krishna Avatara into two parts. Part one, which happens to every child. Whatever Krishna has done his childhood, every kid has done it, till running after girls, running around, doing everything. So apparently, Krishna was after Radha, who was elder to him. So
Yeah.
he was you can he has done everything what an ideal child should not have done. So he has stolen, he has derobed a lady's clothes, he has stolen things, blah blah. Okay, finally, now what happens in our, unfortunately, we stick to that only. Venna tinna kandane venda unna we are only in that level. Now the strange fact is, one day somebody says, okay, Krishna, you go to that mountain. So he goes to the mountain, he goes happily, but he stays in the mountain for some time and comes back. When he comes back, there is total transition. So he has got,
Where is this written?
where is it written? I have read multiple places, sir, and this is what is.
Can you just put it on the group?
Yeah, I
because I
will.
think this is a fantastic thought process.
Yeah,
I've not come across this one before.
yeah. So when he comes down from that mountain, his entire
Demeanor is
perspective
changed.
is, yeah, totally changed. And his own parents, who were loving him as their own son, suddenly thought he was a spiritual guru. From there, he starts. He becomes friend
His
philosophy.
journey is different.
He's totally, now he becomes a society man, and he's more into
So
uplifting society.
is this before he destroys Kamsa or after he destroys Kamsa?
Then he decides to bring down, he takes a different role. He says now he has to cut down adharma and establish dharma. And
Okay,
from
so
there,
what about the transition of Balarama? When does that happen?
uh,
Is there any information?
no, sir. That is probably, that is the reason why they have included him also in the Dashavatara, saying that both of them decided to partner. So probably, I don't know. Balarama is a tool man. He's a person who, that's the nickname given to him. He is always a farmer, kind of, So he's that the concept of taking occupation or something like that. Then, so that is how. And then finally, now by the end of Krishna Avatara, everything is over. Then we start to Kali. Then Kali comes.
No, let's not get into Kali because
Uh,
we don't know what happens in Kali.
so
I'm only now the only, I'm quite comfortable with what you have said. Ramavatara, you're saying, is the householder, the Grasta, where
yes,
he lives a life with a wife and things like that.
wife and society and this one. Now, when
Yeah.
when you spoke
Now,
about Ravana, Ravana was very virtuous person. He got, or he did hours and hours, probably years and years of
tapas,
tapas, and
tapas.
he apparently, a friend of mine, Jain, told me, according to their books, Ravana is still doing tapasya even today in some remote place. He has probably completed 1,000 years of meditation, and he's still continuing to meditate somewhere in some place unknown. So he has done this sadhana only to gain power. But then again, once you get power, then misuse of power. Then suddenly he becomes so selfish, and he does all kinds of mistakes. So
Okay.
this is the
Kala madam,
limitation.
I'm going to stop you because I need to talk. There are other people who
Thank
want to. But
you.
thank you very much. But please, this is your homework. You
Okay.
have to find out this story you told us about Sri Krishna going somewhere and then coming down as a changed person. And you've also got to tell me whether it happened before Kamsa or after Kamsa.
Before comes only.
So
Then,
before Kamsa, that means after he kills Kamsa, he goes to Dwarka.
yes. Then he takes up administration. He takes up responsibility.
As a king.
Yeah.
Okay, now that is your homework, and I'm going to now. I think Vidya, madam, you had something to say.
Yes, sir. I had two. One was about the Buddha thing, which I wanted to tell earlier. But first, I will talk about what Lata ma'am said just now. I think that Krishna, when he killed Kamsa, all those the things that I have read, he was about 8 years old. Now, we all know that he studied at Sandipani Rishi's ashram. That is where his actual how many years of studying happened. So it cannot be possible that he was living in Mathura and in these regions. And Sandipani ashram, by the way, is in Gujarat. So he studies he's in Mathura, and he kills Kamsa and everything. And one day he goes like this and then comes back, kills Kamsa, and then he just goes back and starts administering. No, he had to take his education in Dwaraka, in not Dwaraka,
So
in that Sandipani area.
I'm not arguing with you. We have given the homework to Kala, madam.
Now,
So,
one more thing, sir. What I want to say is, today's let us look at today's perspective. Okay, today there are lots and lots of stories being circulated which were not part of the original Bhagavatam, original Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, and these are being done by vested interests, leftists, feminists.
let's not get into that. Let's not get into
No,
that.
so
All
I
I'm
am
saying is
saying,
let's stick with the. See, this is
right.
in this
So
class. In this class, we will seek the truth. Okay.
sir, what I'm
No.
saying is, what I'm saying is, if a Jain friend of hers who is not even your religion, he's from some other religion,
No,
right?
no, no. I would not like to. I would not like to trash other thought forms because they come from Bharat.
No,
Now it may be a
I'm
Gnostic.
saying
It
something
may be a
else, sir.
Gnostic.
I'm not trying to trash anything. I'm just trying to tell you, when a Jain person comes and authoritatively says that Ravana is still living there, the
See
first
the proof,
question,
na?
Yeah,
See
there
the
has
proof.
to be some proof.
Evidence.
Today people can make any proof of any
No,
book,
no,
but it has
no,
to be
no.
the original text.
Vidya madam, I know, no, no, no. This conspiracy theory is something that I have lot of objections to, because conspiracy theories are all very dangerous. So I'm
When did
saying
I
that
say anything about
we have given
conspiracy?
Kala madam the homework. Let her find out and get back to us.
Ravana was not killed, is what she's saying, right?
No, no, no.
By Lord Rama.
Let her come back to us. No, why are you jumping the whole
The
thing?
reason I am jumping, let me make it very clear. We all know it is a foundation of our Dashara festival that Rama kills Ravana. Now, all of a
One
sudden, if
second.
Ravana was not
One
killed,
minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. What? Who dies? Again, here we are talking about who dies.
Ravana.
No, is the question is how, when we are talking about rebirth exists. If we accept that rebirth exists, then the question of Ravana dying itself is just a comma or a semicolon. That means Ravana coming back, just as Rama came back as Sri Krishna, Ravana coming back as as a Muni or something like that is not inconceivable, no?
No, no, that's not inconceivable. All I was saying is in the same form as Ravana, not as
No,
changed form.
we
Same
don't
form as
know,
Ravana is sitting somewhere and
we don't
doing
know, we
meditation.
don't know, we don't know. Let us give her the chance to do the homework.
Chiranjeevi, I agree with your point of saying death is like a coma and all that. But still, there are 7 or 8 Chiranjeevis names which are given as per the different kalpas or whatever. So in that, in nowhere have I seen the name Ravana.
No,
I'm
no,
this is according. I
here,
might
one
not be
minute.
knowing. I might not be knowing fully.
Chiranjeevi and this are not related. Let us not relate this to that,
Okay,
because
okay. Then it's okay.
A Chiranjeevi does not have any death. There is no
Yeah,
question of
yeah.
rebirth for a Chiranjeevi. In this case,
Okay, okay.
Ravana has been killed and he is reborn,
Acha, acha.
or something
Okay,
else has
okay. Then
happened.
it's fine.
We
Ha,
don't
ha,
know.
ha.
We don't know what has happened. So, Kala
Okay,
madam,
okay,
you have got lot of inputs. So, the question of
okay.
Chiranjeevi, the
So
question of rebirth, the
I'm
question
done.
of,
I'm finished.
yeah, yeah.
I'll close.
So, Kala madam, you have a lot on your plate.
The Puri Shankaracharya says that some question was asked whether Gautam Buddha, excuse me, is part of the Dashavathara or not. So then he says there is this confusion about, the Shakya Gautama Buddha of Kapila Vastu being the Avatara. But in fact, it is not like that. There was another Gautama Rishi from our own Sanatana who has
Yes,
nothing to do with this one,
yes.
with the Shuddhodana's son from Nepal.
So, if you are talking about what is there in Srimad Bhagavad Purana, yes, it's true. Gautama Rishi was there, but here we are talking about Buddha. So,
No, but I am not talking about this Gautama Rishi which you are talking about, Ahalya's husband, and whom Rama, he did the Uddharam of Ahalya, right? Not that one. This is because Gautama apparently is a very common name in Hindus, has
yes,
been there. Yeah.
yes, Gautama
So,
is a very
so
common.
it is not that Gautama Buddha of Shakya Muni, but this is another Gautama, okay, who was a Rishi who did and who is considered the incarnation, like that he told. Okay.
But where is the evidence? We need evidence, no?
Oh, he must be
Vidya
having
madam,
the evidence because I
Vidya
don't.
madam, then you please go and look for the evidence.
No, but
Now
Puri
this,
Shankaracharya is telling, sir, I'm nobody compared to him.
no, no. Then you do the research. The point is, pramanas, no. You need evidence. Without evidence, we cannot say Puri Shankaracharya may have got it through Pratyaksha. We don't know. See,
No.
you and I are lay people.
Yes.
We are not, no,
Yes.
we are not great. So
Yes.
we have to, for truth. Once we understand that Vivekam means we must filter the truth from the non-truth. We have to put it through critical thinking.
Okay.
Critical thinking means seeking evidence.
Yes.
Now, if Puri Shankaracharya said without evidence, see, he may have said what he said, but for us to have a modicum of understanding, swadhyayam, we must put it through a test. If the test is not there, then we say that okay, Puri Shankaracharya said we believe you, but for us it doesn't work. It is something that we have to accept.
So
Because if we do not, that means everything and everybody is saying whatever they like, it becomes something that we begin to accept. Let's be
I'll also
clear.
do the homework, sir.
So homework is important.
Okay.
Without doing critical thinking, anything that we talk about becomes something that hava ka baat. We are talking in the air.
We evolve to become a human being, and you also agreed to that.
Yes.
So my question is that are we saying that once we are born as a human, we can never ever become an animal or
Yes,
reborn
you can be.
into an
You
animal
can be.
again?
You can be.
Because
You can
then,
be. You can be.
because then how would you say evolve? Because that means we've done something good to reach this position.
Yes. The
So,
basic thing
so,
is what are the
so
differences? Hmm. Yes. Sorry.
no. So
Please
I'm just
continue.
asking. So that means if we are reborn, of course we don't know what we're going to be reborn as, but if theoretically speaking, we can say that so and so has been reborn as an animal. That means he has done something bad, and therefore he deserves to be reborn as an animal. Is that what we're
No,
implying?
no, no,
That's my
no,
question.
no, 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 no. You see, you are given the only, while animals have a cognitive power, the ability to discriminate also exists in animals. You cannot say that animals don't have. In fact, in animals also, they have an evolutionary process. The frog's ability to discriminate is much lower than the ability of a dog, as compared to the ability, which is also lower than the ability when you compare it to the ability of a monkey. So that is how you grade animals also in terms of sadhu, right? A goat and a cow are both vegetable eating vegetarian animals, but you have graded the cow as higher than the goat, fundamentally because of the ability to discriminate. And the ability of a human to discriminate is even more. The ability of the human to willfully do something to exert power is much higher than any other entity or animal. If we consider humans also to be animals. So here the issue is that what is it that makes the human different from other animals? But actually, it is not. It is a gradation process from a larva or plant, from plants to larvae to earthworms to say. So what we were talking about, Matsukurma, so a fish does not have much by way of discrimination. Similarly, a tadpole or a crocodile will have less discriminatory power. I mean, little more, but not lesser than, let us say, a four-legged animal or a two-legged animal. So, like that, there is a gradation in terms of discriminatory capability and the ability to cognize and interact with the environment. And the highest in this is the apex predator. What you call an apex predator is the human being. So what happens is that when you have used your powers in order to be a dushkrita, somebody who has disturbed the balance of dharma, then it becomes a part of the maturation process where you have to go back in order to learn those aspects that you have broken, those rules that you have broken. That's the only part. Otherwise, there is no need for you to go. You can be many things. You can become a spider, you can become a lizard. It doesn't matter. But you take that particular rupa or that life in order to fill up that gap in your maturation process. The maturation means you come to a point where you do not need to go back in order. So the thing is that when you are doing a crossover from, say, a monkey to a human being, so you are constantly in the gray zone. Thereafter, as you have matured more, then you don't need to understand what it is to be an animal because you understand. It is visceral, it is cognitive. That is why the evolution process is in our system, the rebirth process is something that is based on karma. Have I made sense to you?
Yes, sir. So what you're saying, as long as we do good, there's no question of being reborn as an animal. We'll only be born as a human being again.
Good is a very dicey word. So long as you are within the bandwidth of dharma, you are okay. Sadhu, paripranaya sadhuna. That is, you are in the bandwidth of sadhus, sattvic, minimum rajas and tamas. So your introspection capabilities are substantial. There is a tapas shakti, but that doesn't mean that you might not be born as a animal, because if there is some gap in your maturation, this is all a distillation maturation process. Living is a maturation process. You come with some karma and you use your, if you can sacrifice and continuously sacrifice, there is a distillation that is happening within yourself. When that distillation happens, then the impact of tamas and rajas on you begins to reduce. Then first your first filter is the sattva, and then thereafter you don't need that as well. But through it all, your need for to become an animal is totally dependent on the level of maturity you have reached in terms of reaching moksha. Am I making sense?
Sir, a lot of sense, sir. But then I have a more direct question, but I don't want to offend anybody in the group. Their objective is not to
Please
offend.
ask the question.
Sir, so suppose I'm saying that is a person who eats non-vegetarian, don't
Meat.
they know that they're killing somebody to eat? And we are talking about 99% of the world probably being non-vegetarians today. So
Correct.
that means they are doing dharma every day of their life or every time they eat non-veg. So that means, are we saying that they're acting against dharma, and
Okay.
hence when they're reborn, they might become an animal again because they didn't appreciate the feeling of that animal, no?
Let us look at dharma in terms of killing an animal for food. Nowhere is it written that killing an animal for food is adharma. Number one. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna talks about it in chapter 18. He says the attitude you have when you kill is what creates karma. So this is a very big subject. I'm going to request you to please hold this particular thought. And when we discuss chapter 18, verse 17 or 18, I forget, please go and read it in the book. It's a very, very important, because it also talks about ahimsa. What is actually non-violence? What does it mean in terms of violence and non-violence, dharma and adharma? Is killing dharma or adharma? It's a very, very interesting. You brought up a very pertinent point, but it's a very large subject, and we cannot take that discussion today. I hope you don't mind. Okay, I've got your thumbs up. Thank you. Do like, share, and subscribe. For more information, please do visit my website www.schoolofyoga.in.